Elementor is a powerful website builder that allows you to easily create professional-looking websites without any coding experience. With its drag-and-drop interface, you can design your website exactly how you want it, adding text, images, and other elements with just a few clicks. Now, not only does Elementor make building a website super easy, it also offers a wide selection of full website templates and sections, so you can choose the one that best fits your needs and then customize it to your liking. Whether you're a small business owner, a freelancer, or you just want to create a personal website, Elementor makes it easy to get online and start sharing your ideas with the world. Let's get started. So step number one is to get your own domain name, your web hosting, and to install WordPress. Now, in order to make your website actually function, you have to have two things. You have to have a domain name and you have to get web hosting. It's the same thing as getting a phone number and then signing up for service with Verizon, for instance. You have to sign up for that service so that your site is actually online. And then you also have to have a place that people can go to find your site, which is your domain name. And a domain name is just the address to your website. So it's what people will enter into the search bar to find your site. It'll look something like yourwebsite.com. And web hosting is just renting space on a server somewhere that's connected to the internet so that you can store all of your media and files on the site. Now, there are web hosting companies that have buildings full of these servers, and they also offer you 24/7 support in case anything happens to your site. If you want to own your own website and have a custom domain name for it, then you have to purchase your own web hosting, which I'm going to show you guys how to do in this tutorial, and I'm also going to give you a massive discount code for it. So in order to get your domain and hosting, just click on the very first link in the description, or you can go to createaprowebsite.com/hostinger, and it'll take you to a page that looks like this. Now, my affiliate link is going to give you a massive discount on your web hosting. I'm talking more than $100 off, so be sure to check it out. All right, so you should be seeing this co-branded landing page that we have with hostinger.com. So from here, we're going to scroll on down and you'll see that we have three different hosting plans in front of us. We've got the single, the premium, and the business plan. Now, I always recommend that people use the premium web hosting plan. So you're going to get 75% off, so it's only going to be about $279 per month, which is pretty cheap for a website. And the things that you get with it are pretty nice. You get 100 websites that you can have under the same account. Down here, you also get a free unlimited SSL certificate, which the SSL certificate is the encryption for your website. It's like the security for your website. Without it, you wouldn't have this little lock icon right here that's saying that your connection is secure. Instead, it would say not secure in big red letters. And so that usually makes people want to navigate away from your site. Other hosting companies out there will try and charge you extra, like an extra $10 for that or something like that. Same with a domain name, but you're going to get it for free. And the free domain name is pretty sweet because, again, usually people charge extra for the domain, but it's going to be included in the plan that you're purchasing right here. For all those reasons, I always recommend everyone use the premium web hosting plan when it comes to Hostinger. So I'm going to go ahead and click select right here. All right, and now this is the part where you get to choose the period of which that you're gonna pay your hosting plan. And so you can choose 1 month, 12 months, 24, or 48 months. Now, I always recommend that people use the 12 months right here. It does say that you're gonna save $98.40. Obviously, the bigger the plan, the more you save. I recommend the 12 months because your domain registration down here is per year. And so you might as well have your hosting go every 12 months as well, just so that those two payments kind of line up. That's just my personal recommendation. You guys can do what you would like. So I'm gonna stick to the 12 months and scroll on down. And this is the part where you have to select your payment method, and we've got credit card, PayPal, Google Pay, so they've got pretty much everything you might need. But I do want to point out a couple things before you guys put in your payment information. Over here on the right-hand side, you can see that you're taking $131, and we're taking it all the way down to $33 for your first website. That's that huge discount that I was talking about just a few minutes ago in the intro when I was talking about the affiliate link here. And so make sure that Create a Pro Website is the coupon code that's applied right here. So if you clicked on the link in the description, it should automatically apply this coupon code, but this is what's going to take off $100 off of your web hosting. So you can see right here, it takes off $101. And so after everything, it looks like it's only going to be $30.13 for your first website, which is pretty cheap. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my credit card information, and I'll see you guys on the next screen. All right, so you should be seeing this page after you put in your payment information for your hosting and your domain. And it's gonna say, hello, follow the guided setup for your website in just a few minutes. We're gonna click on start now. And then from here, it's gonna ask if you wanna create a new website or migrate your website from a different hosting provider. Now, what we're gonna do for this tutorial is create a website from scratch. But if you're still watching this video and you already have a website, but you wanna move it over to Hostinger, you definitely can do that by clicking on this button right here. But for today, we're gonna create a new website. Then it's gonna ask which platform you would like to use. use. And so we've got WordPress right here, and then hosting or website builder. We're going to be using WordPress, so we're going to click on select. All right, now we get to create our WordPress account. And so we've got our administrator email, and then we've got our password. And this is really important to remember because the password's what you're going to use to log into your website every single time you want to edit it. So just make sure you remember this password, and also make sure that this is the correct email. And so from here, I'll go ahead and put in my own. And now it's going to ask if we want to add any plugins before we even get to the website, but we're going to say skip because I'm going to manage those later. And I'll show you guys how to download them in the tutorial, don't worry. And then it's also going to ask if you want to download any themes before you even see the website. And I'm going to say, again, skip. I don't need a template or a theme. All right, and then from here, you're going to get to name your website. And naming your website is by putting in the domain name. So Hostinger has hostinger.com. And so that's what we're creating right now, which is our domain name. And you'll notice that right here, if you chose the premium plan, we get to claim our free domain name because it's included with the hosting plan. So we're going to say select. And now we can try out as many different options as we want right here. And then you can click on the drop down here. Make sure it's a .com. I personally recommend a .com because first of all, they're the most common when people are looking for a website. And then also it just looks more professional rather than doing something else, you know, .fun, .net, .uno, .xyz, all of those things. So I personally recommend trying to see if the domain name you want is available in a .com. All right, we're going to go with Pet Care CAPW for Create a Pro website for .com, and we're going to click on search, and you'll see that the domain name is available. So we're good to go. We can either change it if we want to pick something else or click on continue. And then I'm going to click on finish setup and finally finish registration. All right, and then after waiting for your website to load, you'll see that it says right here, well done, you are ready to go. So from here, we're going to click on edit your website. And it should immediately take you to your WordPress dashboard. And if it takes you to a page that looks like this, it basically is just editing a post. And so to get to your WordPress dashboard, we're going to click on the little W up here in the top left corner, and then you can click on dashboard right here. And now we're inside of our WordPress dashboard and we can start making changes to the website. So step number 2 is to install starter templates. And this is going to be a plugin that we download onto your website. And then from there, we can look through a library of tons and tons of complete website templates. So what we're going to be doing is download a complete website template. And then we're going to edit it inside of Elementor. And don't worry, I'm going to show you guys how to use Elementor to its fullest potential, but it's going to save us a lot of time right now if we start with a pre-made template. And this is the part of the tutorial where I tell you guys that you can literally create any type of website that you guys want using this plugin. They have templates for plumbing websites, they've got consulting websites, portfolio websites, and so much more. You can either follow along with this tutorial and pick the same template that I choose, or you can pick a different one and then just learn how to use Elementor and make that template your own. Let's go ahead and do that right now. So in order to download starter templates, we're going to go over here to the left-hand side under the plugins tab. We're going to hover our mouse over it, and then we're going to click on add new, but I'm going to open it up on a new tab, just like this, because I always like having a dashboard that I can jump back to while I'm making changes to my website. We also don't need this Hostinger page anymore, so we can close out of it. And so now I've got my WordPress dashboard right here, and I've got my plugins tab open. Now what we're going to do is go over here to the right-hand side under the search bar and look for something called starter templates. And as soon as you do, you'll see that starter templates is the first option in the top left corner. So I'm going to click on install now right here, and then I'm going to click on activate. Now, once you click on activate, it's going to take you to the installed plugins page. So you'll notice that we're still under the plugins tab, but now instead of add new, we're on installed plugins. And so this is basically just a list of all of the plugins that are on your website right now. And you'll notice that starter templates is now one of them. You don't really need to worry about all the others. They usually just come by default with Hostinger when they create this website for you. So you don't really have to touch any of them. But what we're going to do is go down to starter templates right here and then click on see library. Now, if you don't see starter templates see library right here, or you're not on this plugins tab, you can always go to the appearance tab and you'll see starter templates has now appeared. Or you can always go to plugins and then find see library right here. So now what we're going to do is click on see library. And from here, we're going to click on Build Your Website Now. And we get to choose which page builder we're using. And of course, this is an Elementor tutorial, so we're going to select Elementor. All right, friends, now we are inside of Astra Starter Templates. And you'll notice that we have a ton of different websites down below. And these are all complete website templates that you can choose from. You'll notice that some of them say premium in the top right corner, and that's because you would have to pay for the premium version of Starter Templates to download these. But you still have a lot of free versions, like this one, and we have this one over here, and a whole bunch of them that we can look through. So I'm going to scroll up to the top and show you guys another feature. You've got these different categories up here that you can click on. You can either click on the actual category like personal sites like this, and it'll put it in the search bar for you. And you'll notice that now we have a bunch of sites for a personal use. Or you can always click on one of the drop downs. So maybe you're an author or a photographer and you can look through all of the photography websites just like this. Or maybe you can go over to business and you want a restaurant website and you have a bunch of restaurant websites like this. Or maybe you have a hotel that you want to build a website for. The options are endless. They literally have templates for almost any type of website that you could possibly want to build. So I just wanted to show you guys that you can literally choose whatever you want. And then up here at the top in the search bar, I'm going to look for nature. All right, and this is the website that I'm going to be using right here. So you can click on it and you'll get a full website preview on the right-hand side. We can scroll through it if we want to. We can click on the different pages up here in the navigation menu. So I can click on the About page and take a look at everything. So you have a full preview of the website. And then over here on the left-hand side is where we can make changes to the website before we even download this template. Now, if you already have a logo, you can choose to upload it now, and it will replace this default template logo right here. But I'm gonna show you guys later on in the video how to build your own logo for free without having to download any software. So I'm gonna skip this step because we're gonna build it later in the video. But if you have one, you can upload it here. So I'm gonna click on skip and continue. The next thing that we can do is choose the default colors for the website. And so as I choose these different color palettes right here, you'll notice that the entire color of the website is changing. And so if I click on the blue, you'll notice that now this button's blue, the dash is blue, come down here and this button is also blue. And if I choose red, you'll notice that they all change. And I can click on different parts of the website and you'll notice that it's also red down here. So we're changing the global colors for the entire website, but I personally like this blue right here. And this is the one that I'm gonna choose. And then down below, we have the changing of fonts. And so we can pick different font categories as well. So you'll notice that the font is gonna change when I start selecting all of these different categories down below, or combos if you will, but I'm gonna stick to the default one that's up here in the top. All right, so from here, we can click on continue. And this is the last step before your template is downloaded. And so you guys can put in your information here if you want to, but I'm gonna skip all of that because I don't feel like it. Just make sure that all of these boxes are checked, except for the last one. Personally, I don't feel the need to share any non-sensitive data, but of course you can if you want to. But you wanna make sure that everything else is checked. You wanna install and activate the Astra theme. You want the customizer settings, the widgets, the required plugins, the content, everything. When I say that this template is all inclusive, I truly mean it. This template is going to automatically install your theme, install Elementor, it's going to install your customizer settings, it's going to download all of this starter template, the images and everything. It's incredible what starter templates can do for you. It saves you so much time, all these different steps of installing plugins and all of that stuff. It does it all for you with one click. And so let's go ahead and do that click right now by clicking on Submit and Build My Website. Watch this. Boom. Just like that, your website is complete. And you'll notice that it says congratulations up here and you get the confetti. That's kind of cool. Let's go ahead and click on view your website right here. It's going to open up a new tab and you'll see your domain name right here, petcarecapw.com. So petcare create a pro website.com. And you'll notice that our template has been downloaded. And so we have a fully functioning website at our fingertips within just the first few minutes of the video, the first 10, 20 minutes of the video. If someone goes to the domain name that you purchased, they're going to see this web page. So that's pretty cool. And you'll notice that we can go to the About page, we can go to the services page and the contact page. It's all here. And so now we can close out of this tab, we can close out of the starter templates and go back to the dashboard. And let's go ahead and refresh the page just to make sure, because this page has been sitting here for a while. All right, so now that we have a template that we like, it's time to move on to step number 3, which is the Elementor tutorial. In this step, I'm gonna go over a bunch of the basics that you need to know when using Elementor. And then in the next step, we're gonna customize this website together using Elementor. Let's jump right in. Okay, so anytime you want to make changes to your website in Elementor, there's 2 ways of doing it. The first is to open up your website first, and we'll go over here to the top left corner and click on petcarecapw.com. I'm going to open it on a new tab, so I'm going to right click and say new tab, just like this. But anytime you click on it, it's going to open your website up just like this. And you'll notice you have this admin bar up here, the ribbon up on the top of your website. That's how you know that you're logged into the admin of your website. Up here in the top left, you'll see edit with Elementor. And so this is what we're going to click on right here. And then when you do that, it's going to log you into your website. I'm going to go ahead and close out of these things right here. And so now you are editing your website inside of Elementor. So that's the first way. Let me close out of this tab. The second way is to go over here to the Pages tab right here from your WordPress dashboard. And again, I open it on a new tab on purpose. And then you can choose whichever page you want to make changes to. So we're going to choose the home page right here. We're going to click on Edit with Elementor right here. And that's just two ways of taking you to the same place, which is editing your website inside of Elementor. So without any further ado, let's actually get into the Elementor tutorial part of the video. So Elementor is really easy to use, trust me, and we're gonna go over every part of it. So the first part is gonna be all of this, whatever is going on out here whenever I hover my mouse over all this stuff. The second part is gonna be over here on the left-hand side, which is kind of this menu that they have. And then the third part is gonna be this bottom ribbon right here. And so we'll go one by one and just show you guys everything that you need. So first, let's talk about what's going on over here, all of this stuff. When you edit a website inside of Elementor, there's three parts to a website. You've got the section, which is this back here. You'll notice that every time I hover my mouse over this background area, this blue box appears all the way around the backside of the website, or the background of the website. That is the section. And you can think of a section as like that background portion, right? So this is a section over here, and if I scroll down, this is the next section right here. As you can see, the blue box appears, and it's all the way down. And then down here is another section, right? So these are sections of the website, and we can only edit one section at a time, right? But you can think of it as the background. Like if I wanted to change the background image, then I need to edit the section, which is the background. So you've got this blue square, that's the section. Inside of a section, you can have a column, which is this gray dotted box right here. And so you can have multiple columns, and they're gonna go horizontal, side by side, right? So if I add a new column like this, you'll see that now there's two columns, this one over here and this one over here. And so I'm gonna remove this one. So you can have multiple columns inside of a section. And you can also have these blue squares inside of a column, which are widgets. And so these widgets are basically everything that's over here on the left-hand side that you can see. You've got dividers, videos, buttons, text, images, intersections, headings, all of these things, right? And so these widgets go inside of a column, and columns go inside of a section. And so when we're making changes to these widgets, we can always click on whatever we want, and you'll notice that over here on the left-hand side, it's gonna open up all the settings for it. And so this is a heading widget right here, and you can tell by right-clicking and you'll see that it says edit this heading. This is another heading widget right here, edit heading. This is a button, obviously, and so if I right-click on it, it's gonna say, do you wanna edit the button? And when I do, you'll see that it says up here in the top left corner, edit the button right here, right? So these are the settings for the button. So that's what's going on over here when I'm hovering my mouse over everything. You're gonna see that everything starts piling up and all these different boxes are, appearing and disappearing. And so now you guys understand, again, the background is a section, all of this stuff. And then inside of a section, you've got these columns. And so notice down here, we've got columns right here that go horizontal. And then if you want to go vertical, so stack things on top of each other, it's got to be the widgets, which go inside of these columns. So this is an image widget. If I right click, you'll see it says edit widget or edit image. And then this right here is just going to be it says an image box, right? But an image box without a picture right here is just going to be a title and a description. And so that's all that's appearing right here, right? Same thing here. We've got the section background, and then inside of it, we've got this extra columns on the sides. We've got two of them, which are basically just acting as spacers, it looks like. And then inside of the center column, we've got these three widgets, or it looks like four widgets, as you can see. So one's a picture, text, and an icon. So now you guys understand what all of these things are when they start popping up like this. Okay, so that's this part over here. And this is the live website preview, right? Over here on the left-hand side, we've got all of the settings for the website. And so we always have three different tabs. We've got the content or the layout tab, we've got the style tab, and the advanced tab. And when I say content or layout, if I edit the section right here, you'll see that it says layout. But if I edit this text right here, it's gonna say content, right? So it flips back and forth between content and layout, and that's perfectly fine depending on what you're editing. But I just wanted to show you guys that it's always gonna be these three tabs. It's either layout and content, style, and advanced, okay? So under the layout tab, you guessed it, it's gonna be a bunch of layout stuff. So I'm editing the section, as you can see right here, right? So I clicked over here in the corner, I right click and I say edit section. Another way of doing that is you can click on the 6 dots right here and you'll see it says edit section right there, right? So when I'm editing the section under the layout tab, it does layout things. It's pretty self-explanatory. I can choose the width, I can choose the minimum height, right? So I can move this around and that's the height of this section, right? Let's go back to 605, which is what it was set at. From here, I can change the column gap, the column position, vertical align, all of this stuff, which we're not going to get too much into any of this stuff, but you guys can play around with it as you want. Column position is basically right now, you can see that it's set in the middle. If I set it to top, it's going to move the column to the top. And then I can change the position to the bottom, and you guys get the idea. It's in the bottom of this section. So all of these you can play around with. I'm just going to go back to middle because it looks better that way. You've got different things like content width. If I say boxed, you'll see that the column right here stops right here on these sides. But if I go full width like this, you'll see that now the column goes all the way to the side of the website. So you can make different changes if you want to. But for editing this section, we're really gonna leave the layout the same, and we're actually gonna be touching the style tab. And so let's go over the style tab. The style tab is all of the stylization for whatever you're editing. So if I'm editing the section, the style would be editing the background picture. It would be the background overlay, which as you can see, there's multiple categories here. So the background overlay is the black overlay of how dark that background is, right? And you can choose different colors, of course, but it's set to black right now. You can change things like the border, shape dividers, typography. We're not really going to touch much of this stuff because the template already has it all ready to go, but I just want to show you guys what it is. That's the style tab. And you can also change it from, a classic image background. You can change it to a gradient, like this. So this is from, let's go from red to pink, I guess, or let's do yellow here just to show you guys. You can do gradients like this if you want to, or you can do a video background. And you would have to put in the video link from YouTube right here, and then it would just automatically play the video in the background. And then you can also do a slideshow, which is multiple images. We'll go back to classic. So that's the style tab. You're basically changing the style of everything. Let's do the style tab for the text right here. If I were to click on this text right here and go to the style tab, you'll see that it's things like the text color. So I can change the color of it. I can change the typography, which if you click on the pencil, it's things like the font. And so I can click on this drop down and you'll see I have all the different fonts down here, right? Times New Roman, Arial, all that stuff. I can change the size just by dragging the slider. I can change the weight, which is how thick the text is. I can transform it to uppercase if I want to, or lowercase. I can change the style. So if I want it to be italic, I can. I could underline it if I want to. All of these things are basically just the style of the text. And then I can do the text stroke, which adds like this weird border around it, which I'm not gonna do. Here, just to show you guys, you can add a text stroke like this if you want, something like that. And then here's the reset button. And then you can also add a text shadow if you want to. And then you can, add the blur or remove the blur. You can see that shadow back there that I'm kind of moving around. You can pick where you want it so it looks like it's popping off the page. So that's the style tab. And then we finally have the advanced tab. And so let me show you guys the advanced tab by, let's do this picture right here. So we're gonna click on the picture and then we're gonna go over here to the advanced tab. The advanced tab has a lot of advanced settings, like the name implies, like the margins and padding. And that's usually the only thing we're gonna be changing inside of the layout tab, unless you're trying to get really complex with your website building. But you've got, motion effects, transform settings, background settings, responsive settings, which get really complicated. These are more advanced features under the advanced tab, but for a more expert user of Elementor. But for a basic understanding, usually the only thing a beginner is going to use in the advanced tab is the margins and padding. And so the padding adds padding inside of this little blue widget square, right? So you'll notice that when I add padding like this and I go up like this, it's going to add space inside of that, right? So if I wanted to add space to this image and make it kind of look like this, I could. And the same applies when I go negative. So if I go 0 and I start going negative, you'll see that it starts to grow, or at least you would think. But with padding, it's not going to do that because padding is just extra space between the border and the actual object. So it's not going to work with padding. But if we go to the negative inside of the margins, you'll see that it starts to grow. And then same thing with margin. If I actually go back down and I go positive, you'll see that it starts to shrink on the inside. So margins and padding tend to overlap sometimes, but it's important to understand that padding is going to be space in between the border of this and the actual object. Rather, when you edit the margin, you can actually go into negatives and kind of increase the size of something if you want to. So if you want all of these to be touching, you could kind of go -20 like on this one, and then I can edit this one and go -20. You guys get the idea. If I wanted them to overlap and do all this crazy stuff, right, to kind of look like more of a montage or like a collage or something, but I'm going to undo these changes just like this. You can also unlink the values together. So if I only want padding on the right-hand side or on the bottom, I can do that. I can unlink the values. And now if I go up on the bottom, it's not going to go up on all the others. As you can see, it just adds space on the bottom. So now it's just pushing the text down. Okay, so you guys get the idea. But that's pretty much the only thing we're ever going to change inside of the advanced tab. You might change some motion effects or a little bit of border action, but other than that, we're going to stick to the content and the style tab for the most part. Okay, and then also what's important is when you click on a widget where you're actually editing content instead of, for instance, a layout tab, now it's not going to be actual layout settings. You can edit the text and it's going to be content settings. So it's what the actual text is. So you see how it says nature. If I click here and type something else, now you'll see that over here on the website, it says animals. But this is really a useless area because if I go back to nature, I can literally type on the screen. So I can put my cursor on screen just like this, and I can type whatever I want. just like that. So that's the content tab right here. You can type in the actual content. You can also change things like alignment. So right now it's centered, but if I change it to the left alignment, you'll see, I can play around with those kinds of things. And then you can also add a link, which is a little bit more complex, but basically if they were to click on this word, it'll take them to a URL. And you would put in www.youtube.com and it would, anytime they click on this, take them to YouTube. So that's a little understanding of this left-hand side menu. We've again got those 3 tabs. It's layout and content, the style tab, and the advanced tab. So now let's go over this bottom little section right here. And so on the right, we've got the most important button right here, and that's update. And that's basically the same thing as saying save my work. Every time you click on update like this, you'll see that green progress bar go across the top, and it just published whatever changes you made live to your website. And so essentially saving your work. And so you'll notice that basically after every time I edit a section of any kind, I always click on update just to save my work, just in case I accidentally get logged out or something happens, my work is always saved. So that's your save button right here. Over here, we've got preview changes. And if you click on this button, it's gonna open up a new tab and let you preview all of the changes that you made inside of Elementor, but on a regular web page. So now you're obviously, as you can see in the domain right here, it says preview ID. You're looking at a preview of your website, right? And then over here, we've got responsive mode. And again, we're actually gonna go over this at the very end of the tutorial, but if you click on this, it'll open up a ribbon over here, and you can see your website, what it looks like on a desktop view, a tablet view, and a cell phone mobile view, just like this, right? Because they're different orientations. And so as you can see, the website is compressing to be different sizes. And so it's important to make those changes later on in the video. Don't worry, we're gonna get to it. And then to close out of this, you can just click on this little X button right here and it removes that ribbon. I think the last step of this video tutorial is gonna be responsive mode, and I'll go more in depth on that later in the video. I just wanted to show you guys that that's where you do it. Next is your history. And when you click on this, you can see a history of all of the changes that you've made. And so as you can see, I've been playing around with this heading widget for a while. Well, it's going to track all of those individual edits. And so all I would have to do is click on this right here. So I can say, let's try this one. So this is when I centered it. This is when I chose the right side alignment. And you can basically go back in history. And then from here, I can click on update to save my work. And now this is the live version. So it's important to know that you can go back in history and you can choose, if you made a bunch of changes and then changed your mind and you want to go back to what you had before, you can do it here. Lastly, you have your navigator, which was this tab over here on the right-hand side. And, you can click on different portions of this. If I want to go to this column over here, now I'm editing the column down here, this one. Or I can edit, if I want to edit this heading, instead of clicking on it, I could click on heading right here. And now I'm editing this heading right here, our services. I don't ever use the navigator personally. I always just close it and I just edit the website as I'm touching it right here, just like this. And I'll click on update to save my work. But that's how you can open the navigator. And then you have your settings as well, which we're not really going to go into the settings, the Elementor settings, because you guys don't really need to make any changes there. But this is how you can actually make changes inside of here. The last thing I want to show you guys is these two buttons right here. On the top right corner is the Rubik's Cube icon kind of looking thing. And this opens up all of your widgets. So if I'm editing this heading and I want to add a new widget now, I can go over here and click on this little icon right here. And now I can drag in a new heading widget right here and I can start typing, right? Or if I want to add a button, I can click on it again and I can drag in a button. And as you can see, I've added a button. And also just a heads up, when you add a widget, let's add an image. You'll notice that that blue line appears. That's where the widget is about to go. So if I want to put it above right here, let go, and now there's the image. And you can always right click on a widget and you can duplicate it if you want to. And so now there's 2 of them, as you can see. And then you can also delete by right clicking and saying delete, just like this. And there you go. And then lastly, we've got the hamburger icon, which again, you can go into your site settings, theme builder, all of these, which we're not going to go into in a beginner tutorial. But if you want to exit out of Elementor, you can click on this. So for instance, this is actually why I like having a dashboard to go back to. Let's click on update to save our work just to make sure everything's good before we exit. If you didn't open up a dashboard like this to go back to on a new tab, and this was your only tab, for instance, let me close out of the dashboard. You can basically click on this hamburger icon and then click on exit. And it's going to ask you, where do you want to go back to? And I'm going to say back to my WordPress dashboard. So let's say leave. And that's how you can get back to your WordPress dashboard if you didn't have an extra tab. But I think that's a whole hassle, and that's why I just like opening everything up on a new tab. All right, friends, now that you have a general overview of Elementor and all of its functions, it's time to give it a real test run. Let's jump in and customize the website template that we just downloaded together. So the first thing I'm gonna do is change out the images and the text, and that's gonna practically make this website look completely different all on its own. And then after that, we can make any other changes that we need to the website, like linking up buttons and things like that. But images and text are usually what make up most of the website. So what I'm gonna do is first edit the section, this hero section here. And before I even make any changes to the picture, I actually want the height to be a little bit larger. So under the layout tab, which you guys now know what it does, we're gonna go to that minimum height and increase the height a little bit. I think it looks good right about here. Now that we've done that, let's go to the style tab because I wanna change the background image. So instead of a single image, I actually want to have 3 different images. And so what I'm gonna do is go over to slideshow, just like this. And then I'm gonna click on the plus button right here. And now I can upload the files. So I'm gonna click on select files and I will find them on my computer wherever I saved them, which they should be on my desktop. So I'm actually just gonna go ahead and highlight all of them, except for this one, because that's an old picture I should have deleted. Okay, so now we're gonna click on open. All right, and by doing so, you'll notice that I checked off every single one of these automatically because I added them to the gallery by accident, but I just wanted them to be uploaded automatically into my media library so I can use these pictures later. So now that all of my images are uploaded, I'm going to disselect the rest of them and only select the 3 that I actually want in my hero section. And to do that, you just hover over the checkbox and you just unselect all of the images that you don't want in your gallery. Just like that. So now I should only have these 3 right here, and I'm gonna say create new gallery in the bottom right corner. From here, if you want, you can rearrange the images by dragging and dropping them, but I think that this is a good order just like this. I'm gonna go over here and say insert the gallery. And just like that, you'll see that our 3 images are now in the background as a slideshow. And every 5 seconds, it's gonna switch to the next image. I think it looks pretty cool. So from here, what we can do is go over here to the left-hand side and we can play around with some of the settings of the background slideshow. We can change the duration, which is in milliseconds, as you can see. So 1000 milliseconds is a second. So this is equivalently just saying that this is 5 seconds. So if I want to go down to 4 seconds, I would put 4000. And if I want to go down to 3 seconds, I would put 3000. You guys get the idea. So you guys can change the duration to more or less than the stock 5-second value, but personally, I'm going to leave it the way it is. You can also decide if it's an infinite loop or not, which I think is necessary, so it constantly will keep switching between the 3 images, or however many you put. And then you also have the transition duration, which is that blur transition between images, and you'll see it right here in just a second, just like that. You can change that from being half of a second, because remember, 1 second is 1000 milliseconds. You might want that to last more like a second, or less than even half a second. It's completely up to you guys. You can also change the background size of the images. I always, just to be safe, select cover, which it looks like it didn't make a change, but cover is basically gonna stretch the image to perfectly fit the section that you put it into. And so that's what I always do. And then you can also do the Ken Burns effect, which I think is sometimes really cool, where when you select it, it's gonna do this slow zoom effect, just like this. You can also change the direction of the Ken Burns effect, and so right now it's zooming in, but you can also have it zoom out if you want to. So now that the background looks good, let's go ahead and change the text that we have right here. But before we do, I'm gonna click on update just to save our work so far. And now you guys know how to edit text in Elementor, but I'm gonna go ahead and change just one thing from nature to animals. And again, you can literally just click on screen and directly type on your website. Just like this. So we all love animals, and you might even change this text down here to say something instead of look deep into nature and will everything, or understand everything better. We can change that to something about animals if we want to. So something like this. So now that we have something right here, we've got our little subtext and our full-on title. We can edit the button if we want to. And so I personally don't recommend changing the color inside of Elementor, because remember, inside of a different area, we're able to change all of the colors on the website. Just like we did before, we can still do that now. And before we actually go ahead any further, let me go ahead and show you guys where you would do that. Let's click on update to save our work. And again, I have a tab open for the dashboard so that I can always jump back to it. But if you don't, remember, you can click on the hamburger icon and click on the exit button right here. So back on the WordPress dashboard, we're going to go over to the appearance tab and then click on customize right here, which again, I'm going to open on a new tab. Now on the customizing page, we can go over here to global because we want to edit the global colors of the website. The first change I want to do is change this black text on the button to be white text, because personally it's just bothering me and I want it to be white just like the rest of the text over here. So I can go over to the buttons right here and I can change the global button color text, which is right here. And let's just change it to the white color that's right here, just like that. So now it's white text back here. Once you're done making changes, you can click on publish in the top right corner right here, and that's the equivalent as hitting the update button inside of Elementor. So back to showing you guys the colors that I mentioned just a second ago. We're actually gonna go from global into colors right here, and you'll see that we have the global color palette, and this is the exact same color palette that we chose at the beginning of the video when we downloaded this template. And so the reason I say the only thing you shouldn't edit in Elementor is the color is because all of these are linked to the exact same color throughout all of the pages on the website. So on the About page, It's also using the blue, which doesn't look like it's used anywhere here. Let's check the services page. All right, so then it's only the contact page, it looks like. But what I'm trying to get at is, here we go, this blue right here. And so when I change these two colors right here, it will change any part of the website that's using this blue to match the same color throughout the entire website, which in my opinion is a big deal. So going back to the home page, if you wanted to change this blue color to anything else, all you would have to do is click right here on color number 1, which as you can see, when I hover, it gets darker, right? And when I'm not hovering, it gets lighter. So we're changing the main color, which is the lighter one, and then there's the darker one, which is that hovering blue, right? So when I change this first color, let me go ahead and copy the code just so I don't lose it. If I were to change it to red, for instance, you'll see that now it's red, but if I still hover, it goes to this secondary blue right here. So if we changed both of these colors, we're essentially changing all of the colors on the website. So there's the red again, there's the red over there, and if I go to the contact page, you'll see that the red is also changed right here. So I recommend if you ever want to change the colors to make it a little bit more personalized to your business, that you do it here inside of the global colors. But again, I want to go back to that same blue, so I'm going to go ahead and paste that color code that I just copied, just so I would save the exact color that we had before. So that being said, again, you can customize everything in Elementor, but if I were you, I'd use the global color palette to change these colors because it's so easy to do. We're going to click on Publish, and we can literally just close out of this tab. We don't need it anymore. But like I was saying, if you want to make any changes inside of Elementor, that's fine. I would just stick to those global colors if you want to change the color. But we can still change other things like where this button takes your client or what the text actually says. So we can right click on it and say edit button as long as we're inside of this widget square, right? And then over here on the left, we've got the text and it's pretty self-explanatory. Whatever I type right here is going to be typed inside of the button. So maybe instead of get started, we want to type learn more. Something like this. And then instead of going to the contact page, maybe I actually want this to go to the services page, right? Because if they want to learn more about what we do, they would go to the services page. And to do that, we can go ahead and remove that placeholder, the little number sign right there. And as long as we put in an active URL, this button will take them to that URL. But the cool thing is, Elementor will literally search the pages on your website. And so all I would have to do is type in services, and you'll see that I do have a service page, and you know that it's a page because it says that it is right here. And so if I click on it, it's going to automatically insert your link that goes to the services page, right? So now when someone clicks on this button, it's going to go to the service page. So let's click on update to save our work. And then if you actually want to give it a test run, you can open up the preview of your website. Remember the preview button down here in the corner? And so now we've got the preview open. If I click on this button, it's going to instantly take them to the services page. So that's pretty cool. And then they can learn more about what you do, right? So I'm going to close out of this tab right here. All right, so that's how you can make changes to the button. We've got the text right here and the link, and that's all you're going to need. If you want to change that color, again, you go over to the global color palette. So that's our hero section. I think it looks pretty good. From here, we can scroll on down and move to the services section. And so again, these are just 3 pictures that you can change to be whatever you want. So I'm going to click on it, and instantly under the content tab, I can change the picture. And so I'm going to choose this as my first one. This is going to be my second one right here. And let's do this third one right here. So you just click on it and you can choose your image. And here it is. All right, and then I'll click on Insert Media, and now you can see that I've got all 3 of my different services images right here. And so if I want to change the text, all I got to do is click right here, and I can literally type on screen. So I'm going to change this to, let's just say dog wash, and then I can change this one to dog walking services, and then I can change this one to feeding services or something like that. Okay, and so if it wasn't clear already, I'm basically doing like a animal care while you're away business. All right, so now we've got our services images right here, and then we've also got the text down below. And if you guys want to change the paragraph, all you got to do is click down here and you guys can type out whatever you guys want. I'm not going to get that in depth and put in a bunch of descriptions, but you guys get the idea. You can literally type out whatever you want right here. So now that you've got all 3 of your services done, we can move on down to this little testimonial section. And so it's really easy. Again, all you have to do is click right here and you can literally type on screen whatever you want. So if I wanted to continue the text, I can. So make sure you obviously type out what a real client has said about you, maybe copy paste from their email, and then you can put it up here as a testimonial. If you want to change this icon right here, you can click on it, and all it is just a picture, just like this. And so you can delete it if you want to, or you can change it to a different icon if you want, but it's obviously a testimonial and it's a quote. And so I would just personally leave it there. If you want to completely remove this section, you can actually hit on this little X button right here, and it will delete the section entirely. And so just like that, now it's completely gone. I'm gonna hit Control or Command Z to undo that, but that's how you would do it if you don't want this section here. Lastly, you can change the image and the name. Again, you can literally just type their name here. It's that simple. And then if you want to change the image, you just click on it and then you would upload a different picture of them. So if I want to change it to this lady, for example, I could say insert media, and now I've got her picture down there instead. All right, so that's the testimonial section right here. Let's go ahead and move on down to the About Us section. And again, all of this is just text, which you already know how to change. And so if you want to type something here, you just click and type. You can even do the same thing right here for this About Us section right there. You guys also know how to edit a button. You can just click on this right here and you can change out the text right here from Find Out More to something else. If you want to change it to Learn More, you can. So something like this. And then we can change the link as well, which if this is an About Us section, I think this button is going to take them to the About page. So let's go ahead and clear that and search for the About page. And you'll see that the About page actually pops up and it's going to instantly put in our URL link. So we are good to go there. And now all we got to do is change this picture. And so we can click on it and just change the image to a picture of your team. So I just chose this one and we'll click on Insert Media. And so now that we're done with the About section, and again, you guys can type out whatever you want here. I'm just going to skip over typing something just for the sake of time. We'll click on Update to save our work. And now let's scroll on down to the bottom, which is this questions section. And so this is probably a prompt to actually get them to go to the contact page, because as you can see, it says, let's talk now. So if you have any questions or you want to start business with me, talk to me now. And so if they click this button, let's go ahead and make that change now. We're going to click on it. We want it to take them to the contact page. And so we'll search for it. There it is. And we're good to go. And so now when they click on it, it's going to go to the contact page so they can get in contact with us. And then lastly, I can change the background by just right clicking out here in the section box, right? And I can say edit section, or I can click on the 6 dots right here. And then from here, I can go to the style tab and I can choose whatever image I want, which I'm going to choose this one. The last thing I'm going to do is change the image size, which actually is fine. So it says cover, but I actually want to change it from bottom center to focus on the center of the image. So center, center. You'll notice that you've got top center, bottom center, top left, top right. You can focus on what part of the image you want to focus on. I'm going to choose the center. And so now I'm going to click on Update to save my work. And then one more thing I'm actually going to do, well, 2 more things. So the first is I'm actually going to change the background overlay to be a little bit darker for this picture. So you just click on background overlay. You can select classic. And then I want the color to be black so that it darkens it, right? Because I could choose any color. If I want it to be a red overlay and then I add overlay, you can see that I can add, you can do whatever color you want, but I just want it to be black. So it's a little bit darker, something like this. And then all I'm gonna do is change the text color. And you guys remember, you can click on the text and of course you can type wherever you want, but if we go to the style tab, we can change the color. And so I'm gonna select from my global colors, because remember, I told you guys, if you wanna change the color of something, you can set it up to use the global color palette. Well, right now it's using the global color palette. So I'm going to go down here and use my theme color of white. And then I'm going to do the same thing for this text right here. So go to the style tab and we'll use the theme color white right here. And what I just did was, instead of setting a local color, I'm using the linked global color from that other tab, if you guys remember. So let's click on Update to save my work just to show you guys here. If I were to change that white color to a different color, now this is going to change as well. And so that's why I think it's really important to use those global colors. It's hooked up to where if I make any changes on that other tab, even these will respond. Okay, and so that's how we're going to customize your full website. So if you guys were following along, now your website should look a lot more personalized to your business, right? So we've got this really cool hero section. We've got the Ken Burns effect happening in the background with that zoom, and it's a slideshow, obviously. And then this button will take them here. Let me actually open it up on a new tab so I can click the buttons here. And so if they click on this button, it's going to take them to the services page, right? And if we scroll on down, we've got the services that we actually provide. And then we have the testimonial section, the About section, and again, if they open this button up, it's going to take them to the About page, which as it should. And then finally, at the bottom, we've got this contact section, which will take them to the contact page, as you can see. And then this is where they can get in touch. They put in their name, their email, and a message right here, and they can send an email to you. Speaking of the contact form, let me actually show you guys how to make sure that this actually goes to your correct email, just really quickly. From this page, actually from the preview, if you want, you can literally go up here to WP Forms in this little tab right here, and then you can open up all forms, just like this, on a new tab. And if you guys don't see this ribbon for some reason, you can go back to your WordPress dashboard, go down to WP Forms right here, and then click on all forms. Either way, you're going to get taken to the same place. We're going to edit this contact form right here. So we'll click on edit just like this. And so guys, if you remember on our website, let me go to the contact page. It says your name, your email, and message. And you can see it's the exact same contact form. Your name, your email, your message, right? We're gonna go over to the settings tab on the left, and then you're gonna click on notifications. And from here, you'll be able to set the address that it sends to. And so right now it's using shortcode to pull your admin email address that you signed up with WordPress for. So remember at the very beginning of the email, it asked to create a WordPress account and you used your admin email and a password. Well, I told you guys that was a really important thing to remember. So when you guys create that account, it's gonna automatically pull the email that you used. So it should be fine right off the bat. But if it doesn't, you can always come in here and actually put in your real email. Something like this. And so now every time someone hits that submit button on their contact form right here, the send message, it's gonna send that message to your email, just like that. And then you can also change some things like the email subject line. So this is what it'll look like in your inbox if you wanna change the title. New entry contact form, and you could put, pet care CAPW, so that you know it's coming from your business website. And then when you guys are done making those changes, you can go to the top right corner and click on save. And then it's live, it's good to go. So let's close back out of that tab and go back to our website. So from here, now anytime someone enters in their information right here and clicks send, it's gonna instantly go to your inbox. So that's pretty cool. So we can close out of the preview and go back to Elementor. Now, you guys have only edited one page out of the 4 or 5 pages I think that are on this website. And let me show you guys what I mean. Close out of this tab, we're gonna go back to the dashboard. And from here, we can go over to the pages tab. Remember I showed you guys that you guys can edit with Elementor by going to the page you want to edit? Well, now you've got to edit all of these pages if you want your entire website to be customized to your business, right? So we just did the homepage, and it's so easy. I'll do the about page for you guys real quick, and you'll see how fast you can make these changes. Let's go to the about page and click on edit with Elementor. All you would have to do is change your image in the background here. So again, I just right clicked out there and said edit the section. I go to the style tab and I can pick which image I want. And so I'm gonna choose this one right here, and then I'm gonna say insert media, just like this. And now you can't see the little hamster or whatever it is because it's focused on the bottom center. So let's choose the center, and now about us. And there's a little animal right there. You guys can change this picture as well by editing it. Choose your image and you guys can put in whatever you guys want. For lack of additional images, I'm just gonna pick this dog picture right here. And as you can see, that's it. All I did was change 2 pictures and it's already customized to my website. And now all I would have to do is change this text right here to say something about us or my team. And then I can change, this text right here to say my mission, and maybe you have values for your company, so it could be whatever is personal to you. And then you can either choose to change this testimonial, or you can just completely remove it just like that. And then click on update to save my work. All right, and then we'll close out of this tab. And so now if I wanted to change, say, the contact form, I could click on edit with Elementor right here. And all I have to do is change 1 picture up top and then these 4 pictures down below. And if you didn't even want to change these 4 pictures down below, like let's say there's not a full team and it's just you can choose to completely remove this section. Again, you can just delete it just like that. And so now all I got to do is change 1 picture. So we'll edit the section here. Go to the style tab. We'll pick one of the images. And so let's just choose a random one, I guess. We'll pick this one again. And we can focus on the center. And so there's the dog again. And so contact us. And here's our contact form. Update to save my work. And of course, you're going to want to change all of this information right here because this is just fake filler information. And the way that you would do that is really simple. You would just click on it right here and you can, again, literally just type on screen. It's that easy, right? And then if you want to change your phone number, again, type on screen and the location. Type on screen. The final thing on the contact page you might want to learn how to change is these little icons right here, which you can click on. And when you click on them, you got 3 of them. And if you see it's Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and you got Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. If you want to duplicate one, you just click right here. And if you want to delete it, you click on the X button. It's really simple. And from here, you can change the link to go to your actual Twitter account. And then if you have an Instagram account, you would put in your Instagram URL right here. And your YouTube, you would put in your YouTube. And that's it. And then when people click on these, it'll go to your social media. It's really simple. So let's click on update to save, and I'll close out of this tab right here. And you guys can do that for every single page on your website, right? And then by the time you're done, which wouldn't be another 20 minutes, now every time you go to a different page on your website, it's completely customized to your business, right? And you go to the contact page, same thing. We didn't touch the services page, obviously, but again, all you do is just put in some pictures, put in a picture, and then you can just change the text right here. That's all you would do. And you guys can type out whatever you guys want. Just to show you guys, let me go ahead and open it real fast. And again, all you would have to do is type whatever you want. And this is a button right here. Again, you can click on it and you can put in the link. And so if it says start a project, what I would entail, or what I would think that would mean, is putting a link to the contact form, because that's where they would want to go if they want to start doing business with you, right? So literally you could just change this to contact. Just like that. And you would do the same thing for those 3 buttons. Change your pictures, And then down here, you can change your text. And over here, these are just icons. And so if you click on one, you'll see that the icon is right here and the text is right here. It's really simple. So if I want to change the text from 8 years of experience, I could say, this is an icon. And now you can see it says this is an icon. And then I can change the icon by clicking on it, and I can choose from all of the icons that they have. Let's just pick a feather for some reason. Actually, let's pick the airplane. That looks cool, the fighter jet. And we'll say insert. And so as you can see, these are super easy to change. So I'm gonna go over here to the top and close out of my Elementor and the Pages tab and go back to my dashboard. And I'm just gonna refresh the page to be safe. For those of you who just came to this video to learn how to use Elementor, we're actually gonna put that on pause just for this one step. This is the part of the video where we're gonna jump out of Elementor and jump into the customizer to edit the header, the footer, and the logos as well. Elementor edits all of the content on your website except for the header and the footer, which is at the very top of the website and the bottom. Think of it like a sandwich. Elementor lets you design the middle of the sandwich, while the customizer edits the bread on the top and on the bottom. Now, for those of you who are actually following along with this tutorial to build a complete website, this stuff is just as important as the rest. So let's get right into it. So from here, again, we're gonna go to the Appearance tab and then click on Customize, just like we did earlier to change the global colors of the website. And you guys remember we went over here to global colors. Well, now what we're gonna do is edit the logo, the header, and the footer of the website, which is down below, right? And so to edit the header, it's really easy. We can just go to the header builder, and you'll see that we've got the site title and logo, which is basically the logo, and that's this. We've got the button, which is this over here, and then we've got the primary menu, which is this right here. So if you guys want to change the logo, you would go over here to site title and logo, just like this. And now I can remove or change the logo. And so this is actually the part where we're going to go and build a logo completely for free without having to download any software. I'm going to show you guys how to build your own logo. So we're going to open up a new tab. And from here, we're going to go to a website called Logo Maker, but without the E. Logomaker.com, just like that. And you'll see that they can create any kind of logo you want. If you want, you can go up here to templates and pick one of their templates to start from, or you can just say start new design, just like this. And so over here on the left-hand side, we've got basic stuff like text, right? So I can click here and it's gonna add text. And then I've got shapes, so I can add a basic shape if I want to, like a circle, just like that. Up here in the top, we've got the search bar where we can search from, you know, the 3 million graphics that they have. And you've got these categories here as well that you can pick from. And I could search for like camera if I wanted to, and then I'll get a bunch of cameras. You guys get the idea. And then over here on the right side, we've got the color circle, so I can pick my color, my saturation, which is in the square, and then I've got my opacity right here to make something more transparent or opaque. And so that's how you can make multiple changes. You can select multiple things by clicking and dragging like this, and then I can hit my delete button and it'll delete everything, just like that. Let's go ahead and search for a dog, because this is obviously gonna be a pet care logo. And so you guys can see that they have a ton of different logos that you can choose from, right? I'm actually gonna pick this one right here because I think it looks pretty good. And you guys can click on it and drag it wherever you want it to be. You guys can also resize it by dragging the corner, right? And then I'm gonna add some text down below, and I can drag it underneath and center it just like this. And then I can type something like this. And then I'm gonna go over here to the right and make the text black. And then I can go over here to the top and choose my category and the actual font. So under category, I could do something fun and funky. I got handwriting, pixel, monospace, scary and dark. I'm gonna go with simple modern. And then I'll go over here and I could choose Archivo Black, or however you would say that. And then I might increase the size of this just a little bit. So something like this. And then I can still center it if I want to by dragging like this. And then lastly, what I'll do is add a little bit of text underneath, so I can click on text again, and I might be able to type something like, let us love your pets. So something like this. We'll drag it down below here. I'm gonna change it from Archivo Black to some, let's pick maybe Alerta or maybe Alan. I think Alan looks good. And we're gonna change it to black. And I'm gonna go to the styles button right here and just increase the letter spacing a little bit. Something like this. And then I'm just going to reduce the size. Perfect. All right, I'm gonna try and center this under the text here. You can use your arrow keys if you want to move it around just with small precision, a little detail, right? There we go. Okay, so pet care, let us love your pet, and then I can have the image on top. And so right after that, what you can do is click on something and you can change the color over here, right? And so I'm actually gonna take the same color, blue, that we have for our entire website. So to do that, I'm gonna go back to the customizer. I'm gonna go back over to the global colors, and I can select the actual color that we have. So if I click on this, I can copy this code right here, and I can literally paste the exact same shade of blue onto my icon by pasting it right here. just like that. And then the last thing I'm gonna do is actually make the text white so that it pops off of my dark background on my website. Because right now, you see how this logo is white so that it will pop off the background? If that was a black logo, it'd be a little bit harder to see on this dark background. What I'm gonna do from here is just highlight the text and I'll make it white. The reason I chose to do that at the very end is because it makes it kind of invisible on this screen, as you can see, but you know it's there. Whenever you're done with your logo, you go to the top corner and click on Save Logo, and you'll notice that it's gonna ask, it's processing right now, almost done, and it says download your files. Don't click on this one because it's gonna ask you to pay for it. If you guys wanna do it for free, you're gonna download the low resolution PNG file right here, accept the terms and conditions, and say download the low resolution file for free. Perfect. And now it's been downloaded to my computer, as you can see, and we can close out of this tab now because we don't need it anymore. All right, and so now what we can do is from here, we can actually insert our logo. So we'll go back and we'll go over to the header builder, and then we're gonna click on site title and logo, and we can change the logo right here to be our own. And here it is. Click on select, and then you might have to skip the cropping, and now my logo is available. And so you can also go over here to the bottom left corner and say logo width is basically the same thing as logo size, because as you can see, as I drag it, it just makes it bigger. I think that's a pretty good size right there. And so that's how you can put in your own personal logo onto your website. One last thing before we start editing the navigation and the button over here, if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see site icon. And so the site icon is this little guy right up here on the tab. You can even customize this. And the way that you would do that is you can click on site icon just like this, and then you can literally select it from your computer. And so I actually don't have one made. We're gonna have to go back to Logo Maker. So that's my bad. We'll go back to Logo Maker. And it should save your work, by the way. So if I click on start my new design, you'll see this pop up right here, resume previously saved work, and you should have your logo right here. And if not, you can just search for the dog logo again. And I'm gonna go ahead and remove the text, which you can't see, but I'm gonna remove it because I just want this as my icon, because I want the dog to appear right up here. So now I'm gonna click on save, download the low resolution file, accept the terms, and download. I'm gonna close out of both of these tabs. And now I can finally upload the image to my website. So we'll go over to the downloads folder, and I've got my icon. I'm gonna click on select and skip the cropping. And now you guys can see the little dog icon is popping up on the tab. I think that's super cool. So now I can click on publish to save my work. Then I'm also gonna close out of this little downloads notification. Okay, so now we have our logo and our icon up on the website. So we're branded, it looks good. Let's go over here to the navigation menu, right? Click on the back button. If you guys wanna change the navigation menu, it's really simple. We'll go over to the header builder again. And then from the header builder, we're gonna actually click on transparent header, because you can't tell, but this is a transparent header, because if the transparent header was turned off, you would just have this big white bar up here with your text and logo on it. I think transparent headers just look so clean, so I always use them, and so does pretty much everybody else who builds websites anymore. But I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that it is a transparent header. So if we want to edit the primary menu, we wouldn't actually go here. We have to go to the transparent header. And so we can go to the design tab, and from here we can change the colors. So right now you've got the menu color, you've got text link. And so right now the normal color is white, and then the hover color or the active color is white as well. We can change that to our blue color. Actually, let's choose the lighter one so it matches this blue and that blue. And so now you'll notice that whatever website page I'm on, if I was on the about page, this one would be lit up blue. And so we've got this hover color. So that's how you can change the color of this as well. And then if you guys actually want to change the titles, you wouldn't do it under the transparent header. You would have to go down here to menus. And then you guys can actually change these. If you wanted to rearrange them, you can. And so if I wanted to drag about underneath services like this, I can. And so now you'll see that services is ahead. But instead of doing that, you can also click on it and you can say remove. And so that's how you would delete one. And then if you wanted to add one, you can click on add items and add different menu items. But I wouldn't really make any changes to your custom links up here because they're already set up for the home, about, services, and contact, which is pretty standard for any website. But I just wanted to show you guys that this is where you would do it if you wanted to make those changes. So we'll click on publish to save our work. So now the final thing that we want to change, which is this button over here, we can click on the back button, go back to the main area, go to the header builder, and we can change the button by clicking on this right here. So you can change the text and the link the same way you do in Elementor. You've got the text right here, and we've got the link right here. So if, for instance, you want to change, instead of it having a contact button like this, you want the button to say contact, and we'll remove this. Let me show you guys how, which I do this pretty often. I think it looks good to have a button up here for the contact. We'll change this to say contact. Something like this. Contact us. Let's maybe not do it in all caps. I forgot that my caps lock was on. And then we can change the link as well. And so we can close out of this, and we're actually gonna have to go and grab the link because unlike Elementor, this one will not search the pages. And so in order to do that, just go back to your dashboard really quickly, open up your website on a new tab, go to the contact page, and literally just copy this link. And we can paste it right here. Okay, so we've got our contact page right here. So now this button takes you to the contact page, and we'll say publish to save. Now all we have to do is just remove this from the menu. And good thing I just showed you guys how to do that. Close out of this tab. So in order to do that, we're gonna go back to the menus tab right here. Click on the main menu, because that's what we're editing. And we will literally remove the contact one. So we will actually click on remove and then click on publish to save. And so when we do that, you'll see that it says home, about, services, and contact. And so now when they click on the button, it still takes them to the contact page. It's just now it's a button. And so that's how you can customize that button. So now that we have the header, logo, and site icon all ready to go, we can finally go down to the bottom and edit section down here, which is the footer. So let's go ahead and make changes to the footer right now. We can go over to the main menu, and instead of clicking on the header builder, we're going to go down to the footer builder right here. And then it'll normally automatically drag you to the bottom so you can see what you're editing. And there's only 3 things down here. We've got the menu over here, the logo, and the text. And so over here on the left-hand side, we've got the menu, and you can see the menu is right here. Right here in the middle, we've got the logo, which is the HTML. And then over here on the right, we've got the copyright, which is Love Nature by Tyler Moore. And so these are the 3 things that we can change. We can change the copyright just by clicking on it, just like this. And then maybe Love Nature by Tyler Moore, let's change that to something like this. So Pet Care, CAPW 2023, whatever you guys want to put down here. And then we can change this icon right here, or the logo. So we'll click on the HTML widget. And then we're actually going to remove this one. So click on remove, and we'll say add media. And then I'm going to choose my icon right here, and we'll say insert into post. And so now I've got my logo down here. We can actually click on it and drag it and kind of resize it so it's not as big. So let's make it kind of this big as instead. And so now we have our logo down here. We'll make it a little smaller. And then if you want to change the footer menu over here, you can just click on the footer menu. Now, you really don't need to make any changes to this, except for the fact that it does not say contact over here, because this is pulling automatically from this setting up here. So you could honestly create a secondary menu and try and insert the contact button at the end, because this is the exact same menu as this one. It's pulling from the exact same setting, or you can just leave it the way it is. It's completely up to you. If you wanted to create a secondary menu so that it's one is up here and one is down here, it's a bit of a hassle, but you can literally configure the menu, and you're gonna have to create a new one. So create a new menu, just like this. We'll call it the footer menu, and you wanna say that it's gonna be in the footer. So check this box. And then you've got to create it from scratch. So add the items, and you want to add the home page, the about page, services, and contact, and then say publish. So not that much of a hassle, but I just didn't want to have to do it. You know, us web designers can be lazy. And so now you've got 2 different menus. You've got the one that's up here where the contact button is in place of an actual text right here. And then the other one down below actually has all 4, right? So that's how you would do that. Really simple. So now we can close out of this tab, and we'll go back to our WordPress dashboard. All right, friends, we're going to be jumping back into Elementor one last time for the final step, which is responsiveness. Now, the template that we just downloaded is already responsive for the mobile, tablet, and desktop views. But just in case you made an extra section from scratch or made some big changes that affected the other versions, it's important to check the responsive mode to make sure that everything looks correct. And just a heads up for anyone who's new to this, mobile responsiveness is just making sure that your website looks good on the desktop view, the tablet view, and also the mobile view. Because if you think about it, someone can look at your website from their phone, tablet, or computer, and all of those screens look different, especially the desktop, which is more of a horizontal rectangle, versus the mobile view, which is more of a vertical rectangle. Again, the template we downloaded already accounted for all of this, but just in case we made any big changes, we just want to double check our work. Luckily, Elementor makes this super easy to do. Let's get started. So in order to do that, we're going to go over here and open our website up one last time, and we're going to edit it inside of Elementor. From here, you guys remember at the beginning when I told you guys how to use this navigation at the bottom, we're gonna click on responsive mode. And if you guys remember, again, the ribbon's gonna pop up right here. So the desktop view, tablet, and mobile view are right here. So let's go ahead and double check the tablet view. We'll click on it. And all we have to do is scroll through the website and just make sure everything looks right. If anything looks out of the ordinary or isn't fitting correctly, we can make the changes as we need. So we're just gonna scroll through the website. Those 3 look fine. So does this. The about looks great. And then it looks like the contact is not actually showing the picture. Let's double check that this isn't just a glitch. And it looks like the image is different. Let's go back to the desktop view. And so it looks like the image is still here on the desktop view. So this is an example of just double checking your work to make sure that everything looks right on different versions. As we can see on the tablet version, for some reason, and I'm not even sure why, the picture isn't showing here. So all we got to do is edit the section and actually add the image under the tablet version of the website. And so we'll go back and insert this image. And I get the feeling we're going to have to do the same thing for the mobile view as well. Sometimes errors like this happen. One thing I do want to make clear though, is over here, right next to the image setting, you'll see this little tablet icon. And if you click on it, you'll see that it shows 3 different versions. And so I want to make it clear that anytime you see this little icon right next to it, which is like the responsiveness icon, it means that whatever changes you make here are only going to affect this one version of your website, the tablet version of your website. So you can tell that when we went to desktop, again, it's there. But if I go to mobile, I bet it's not going to be there. And it's not. And so it looks like this is just a setting where we had to individually set it 3 different ways. So let's just add the image one last time for the mobile view, just like that. And we'll click on update to save our work. So that being said, as you can see, it's very important to make sure you go back and double check that everything looks good on all 3 versions. So we already did the scroll through for the tablet, right? We got all the way to the bottom. So let's just double check the mobile view. So from the top here, everything looks good. It looks like all of the text compresses correctly. And then we've got the 3 services. They just stacked on top of each other. So that's pretty cool. Testimonial looks good. Website looks good. And it looks like this is not going to show up on the mobile view. And then down below, we have our question section as well. So it looks like the home page, and only the home page, looks good on all 3 renditions of the website, right? Now, if we want to double check the whole website, we have to go page by page and double check the responsiveness. So that means we have to close out of Elementor, go to our Pages tab, and then one by one, we check the About page. And we make sure that it looks good on the mobile view. And then we go back and we do the contact page, make sure it looks good. And then the services page and make sure it looks good. You guys get the idea. You would just open it up in Elementor, open the responsive mode, go to different modes, and you guys would just double check that it looks right, which it looks like this page is going to look fine. So we're good. We can double check the contact page, and we'll open up the tablet, which looks fantastic, and the mobile, and it looks really good. And then we can double check the services page as well. All right, the tablet looks good, and so does the mobile. So like I said, the template is going to be optimized for all 3 versions of your website, so you shouldn't have to make any changes unless you built something from scratch or made some kind of a major change. So that's really good to know. Other than that, we can just go back and look at our website, and we're done. I've got to say, I'm really happy with how the website turned out, especially the homepage. I think it looks great with all 3 of these pictures up here. All right, friends, if you followed along with the video and created your own website, you now have your own personal, fully functioning website, and congratulations for that. I recommend checking out this video right here, where I talk about the golden rule of web design, which, spoiler alert, is purpose. I talk about it in depth in this video, but I think it's important for you to know how to keep your website from becoming too cluttered. So if you're interested in learning much more about making your website that much better, I'll see you guys in that video.